Good afternoon, dear students. Okay, we'll get started. So in yesterday's class, Sir has covered some of the topics in fifth unit. What is that? Wireless communications. So he has given an introduction about wireless communications and some of the important topics he has taken. So today we'll start the other topic, that is ultrasonics, ultrasonic communication, and how sound waves are being used for so many applications. Okay, so let's have a quick view of the contents, what we're going to learn today. First, we'll start with the introduction to ultrasonics, then the properties of ultrasonic waves, then methods of the ultrasonic sound production. And there are three methods, the mechanical method and the ultrasonic sound production by magnetostriction method, and the third one is piezoelectric method. So we will these two methods are important that we will learn, and finally we'll conclude the ultrasonics with understanding the applications of ultrasonics. Okay, so these are the topics that we are going to learn in ultrasonics, which is being part of the fifth unit, wireless communication. So this is a simple representation of how ultrasonic waves. So can anyone tell what is the frequency range of ultrasonic sound waves? So what do you mean by ultrasonic? You can post your responses in the chat box. Sound waves with very high frequency, Mohan Sai. Yes. Any other? Can you tell what is the frequency range? Sound waves with a very high frequency, about 20 kilohertz. Yes. So that is beyond the audible range. That is called to be the ultrasonic sound waves. But some animals will be able to identify the sound waves, that is ultrasonic sound waves. Okay, and also it has lot of many applications because of the properties of the ultrasonic sound waves. So this is simple representation of how ultrasonic waves could be captured, the spectrum. So this is the frequency spectrum of all the sound waves. That is the one is, that is infrasound. It is a very low frequency. It is in the range of 20 hertz, and the human audible range, that is the human hearing range, it will be from, what is that, 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. So that is the human audible range. And beyond that, above 20 kilohertz, it is called to be ultrasonic. And in ultrasonic also, we have two frequency ranges. It is up to 1 megahertz, it is going to be power ultrasonic. And beyond that, it is used for some diagnostic applications. Okay, so it is used for some kind of power applications, that is up to 1 megahertz, and beyond, that is the frequencies greater than 1 megahertz, it is called to, they are used for some diagnostic applications. So this is the frequency range, that is the sound waves which are above the human audible range, that is about 20 kilohertz, are called to be ultrasonic sound waves. So this sounds are in this frequency, therefore the human will not be able to hear, but some animals, they will be able to hear these sounds, and some birds, they will be able to hear these ultrasonic sounds. Okay, and also you might have heard of this bat, is it not? So this bat animal, so this is a mammal, so it actually travels very fast, or it flies very fast with the help of sending some kind of ultrasonic sound waves, which means that these bat animals do not have eyes. So by sending and by generating ultrasonic sound waves, they will be identifying the target with the help of the echo signal that is being received by hitting the target. It calculates its distance. Okay, so in that way, these ultrasonic sound waves are very useful for so many applications. Therefore, the important point to note down here is, what is the frequency range of ultrasonics? It is going to be above the human audible range, that is above 20 kilohertz. The waves, the sound waves which are above 20 kilohertz are called to be the ultrasonic sounds. So how this name has been arrived? So what is the name, how the name has been assigned for the ultrasonic sound waves? So the word ultrasonic combines the Latin words ultra, which means beyond. Sonic means sound, that is beyond sound, beyond the audible sound of the human range. It is going to be called as ultrasonic sound waves. Okay, ultrasonic waves. Okay, so that is how it is being called. Somebody is telling. We can talk about assignment and other things later, ma. Okay. So this sound, so the name has been derived from the Latin words ultra and sound, which means sonic. So combination of these two, it is going to be ultrasonic. So the sound waves which are having frequencies above the audible range, that is above 20 kilohertz, are called to be ultrasonic waves. So these waves are also called as high frequency waves. So it has a wide range of applications in case of imaging applications, detection applications, in case of navigation applications. So the most important application in navigation is your seas, the submarines, where light is not that easily, the light does not pass through the water. But whereas this ultrasonic sound waves passes very faster in water, because of that, so these ultrasonic sound waves are used for by submarines for detecting the targets and for navigation purposes. So the broad sectors of the society regularly apply the ultrasonic technology for medical applications, industrial applications, military, and it is used by many of the citizens. So medical applications, we know all that. So it is used for scanning purposes. So ultrasonic sounds are being, what is that, sent. So you might have seen that is for medical applications, they do for scanning purposes, ultrasound scanning. So specifically for abdominal scanning without disturbing any of the organs in the human body. They will be sending some kind of ultrasonic sound waves, and they will be detecting and identifying if there is any defect in the organs of the body, internal organs of the body. Is it not? So, and also for what is that, a child when it is in the fetus, so that will also be identified with the help of this ultrasound scanning. This is clear. Therefore, it has a wide range of medical applications. And also in medical applications, it is used for many treatment purposes. That is, the property of sound, that is ultrasonic waves, it produces heat when it is passing through the body or any object. So that property finds application for the treatment purposes. Okay, so let us see one by one. So this is about the introduction of ultrasonic sound waves. Let us move on to the properties of ultrasonic sound waves. So because of this nature, it has wide applications in medical and other fields. So what are the properties of ultrasonic sound waves? So they have high energy content, and just like ordinary sound waves, these ultrasonic sound waves, they get reflected, refracted, and they get absorbed, which means it can penetrate through the body, it passes, so it is absorbed by the bodies also, and also by some objects it gets reflected, and some objects it gets refracted also. So it can be transmitted over longer distances with no appreciable loss of energy. Okay, so it reaches very far distance without any energy loss. So if an arrangement is made to form a stationary waves of ultrasonic in a liquid, so it forms like a kind of grating. So you might have no grating, diffraction grating. So that is also used for acoustic grating. So that is used for cutting and welding, soldering purposes. Okay, because of that nature. And also it produces intense heat. As I told you, it produces intense heating effect when it is passed through a substance or any object. So because of that nature, it is used for healing the wounds that has been occurring, that is internal wounds, which cannot be what is that, solved or rectified by the other means. That is whenever you are getting what is that, sprain or in our legs or any kind of fracture, it could be done with the help of the other purposes. But if it is, if something happens in our muscles like sprain and other ligament tear or something happens, that could be rectified with the help of the heating effect that is produced by the ultrasonic sound waves. Simply they pass this ultrasonic sound waves. So you might have seen what is that, physiotherapist, they give treatment for the people who are having this kind of internal injuries which could not be seen from outside and which could not be solved by putting some ointment or medicine. So they rectify and they heal the people and they give treatment for the patients with the help of this ultrasonic sound waves. So they have a kind of instrument at their clinic, so which produces ultrasonic sound waves, and they will be giving treatment. So you might have seen, you might have come across with the elders people who are going for this physiotherapy for getting the ultrasonics treatments. Okay. So these are the properties of ultrasonic sound waves. So with this, we need to produce the ultrasonic sound waves for as it has many applications. So how it could be generated? So it is not found in nature, is it not? Only bat is the animal who could generate this ultrasonic sound waves by nature, is it not? So remaining applications, we need to have some kind of production methodology. So let us see what are the different methods of ultrasonic sound waves production. So we have the following three methods. So by using these three methods, we can generate the ultrasonic sound waves. So the first one is the mechanical generator or Walton's whistle. And the second one is the magnetostriction generator or oscillator. And third one is the piezoelectric generator or oscillator. So we are going to see one by one in detail. So the two important topics here are going to be the magnetostriction generator and the piezoelectric generator. Whereas this mechanical generator is a very simple one. It is going to be a kind of simple whistle. So let us see first one. So this is the mechanical generator. So there will be a mechanical setup with the help of, that is whenever this wind is passing through a small hole, and when it is being released outside a small hole, it's a kind of sound is being released. So this mechanical arrangement is set up such that wind is passing through this windpipe and it will be released by means of a small hole. So that when it is released, the sound signal that is produced in this a particular hole will be in the range of ultrasonic frequency. So normally it is called to be the Galton's whistle or dog's whistle, is it not? So normally whenever people who are having pet animals, they will be having this kind of whistles, Galton's whistles. That is, they will be whistling automatically. These animals or pet animals, they will be they will be able to hear this kind of noises, whistle, sound produced by this Galton's whistle. So with that, it will be identified and they will be reaching its owner. Okay, so this is called to be the Galton's whistle. Okay, so this Galton's whistle is nothing but a mechanical generator. So it will be having a small windpipe. So there will be a mechanical arrangement. So whenever wind is passing through the small passage and when it is released by means of a small hole, automatically it will be producing the ultrasonic sound waves. So this is a best example of a mechanical generator or Galton's whistle. Okay. Next, that is the first method of production. So it is a simple mechanical arrangement. And the second one, it is going to be the magnetostriction generator or oscillator. So this magnetostriction generator, there is a mechanical setup. The principle behind this magnetostriction generator or oscillator, it is going to be magnetostriction effect. So what do you mean by magnetostriction effect? I think you might have studied in your physics. That is, whenever a ferromagnetic rod like a nickel or iron is placed in a strong magnetic field, which is parallel to the length of the rod experiences a small change in its length. That is, either it could be an increase in length or decrease in length. So that effect is called to be the magnetostriction effect. Okay, I repeat, whenever a ferromagnetic rod which is made up of nickel or iron is placed between a strong magnetic field. So the magnetic field should be running parallel to its length. The rod experiences a small change in the length. Either it could be increase in the length of the rod or decrease in the length of the rod. So that effect is called to be the magnetostriction effect. So with the help of this concept, we are going to make an arrangement or experimental setup to generate the ultrasonic sound waves. So this change in the length of the rod, either increase or decrease in the length of the rod, produces some kind of vibration. So that vibration of the rod, what happens? It produces strong ultrasonic sound waves. So that is the principle behind here. So we are going to make use of the magnetostriction effect. Okay, so now let us see. So this is what is the magnetostriction effect. So this is the ferromagnetic rod. So a rod which is made up of nickel or iron, so which is having the magnetic property. When it is placed between the north pole and south pole of a strong magnets, what happened? So the magnetic field should be across the length of the rod. So the direction of the magnetic field should be across the length of the rod. So whenever this setup is being magnetized, that is whenever the magnetic field is induced here, what happens? There will be small change in the length of the rod. At the max, most probably there will be increase in the length of the rod. So this change in length, increase or decrease in the length of the rod, depends upon the strength of the magnetic field that is applied and also nature of the material with which the rod is made. And it is independent of the direction of the magnetic field applied. So it depends upon the three parameters. First one, the change in the length of the rod, either increase or decrease produced the rod depends upon the strength of the magnetic field applied across it and the nature of the materials with which this material is made, and it is independent of the direction of the magnetic field. So these are the parameters that is going to affect the, what is that? The first thing, that is the strength of the magnetic field and the nature of the material is going to affect the either change or decrease in the length of the rod. So this change or in the length of the rod produces the what is that? Ultrasonic sound waves. So that is going to be the magnetostriction generator. So this is the concept here. So now let us go to the experimental setup. So this is the experimental setup. So this XY, that is going to be the rod, and that is being supported by a small pivot here in the middle, and there will be two coils L1 and L2. Here L2 will be coupled to the base of a transistor, and this L1 is coupled to a capacitor. This is the variable capacitor that is going to determine the ultrasonic sound wave protection. And what happened here? That is collector coupled capacitor. So this is connected to the collector of the transistor. And I repeat, so X5 is the ferromagnetic rod, so that is being supported by a central pivot. And this L1 and L2 are the two induction coils. So this L2 is wound here, and that is connected to the base of the transistor. So it is the common emitter transistor, and this coil L1 is connected to the, what is that, variable capacitor. This is connected to the collector coupled capacitor, and there will be a multimeter to measure the current, and the high tension battery is connected here in order to induce the magnetic field across the coil. So whenever this is the mechanical setup, experimental setup for generating the ultrasonic sound wave production. So whenever a high tension voltage is supplied, DC voltage is supplied to this battery, automatically it induces the current or voltage passing through the coil. So that produces the magnetic field across the coil. That induces, what is that? That creates the change in the length of the rod, and because of that, the rod starts to vibrate. So that vibration of the rod produces the ultrasonic sound waves. So with this, the ultrasonic sound waves are produced, and that could be, what is that, recorded, and that is used for so many applications. So this is an experimental arrangement for the magnetostriction method of the production of ultrasonic sound waves. So I repeat, the XY is the rod, ferromagnetic material, which is made up of nickel or iron is used, and it is clamped in the middle with the help of a pivot. So this alternating magnetic field is generated by an electronic oscillator. So that oscillator circuit, it is going to be a coil L1 wound on the right hand portion of the rod with a variable capacitor. And this forms the resonance circuit of a collector tuned oscillator. So this is going to be a collector tuned oscillator. And the frequency of the oscillator is controlled by the variable capacitor. So the coil L2 wound on the left hand portion of the rod is connected to the base circuit. So it is connected to the base circuit. And this L2 is going to act as a feedback loop to the circuit. Okay. So that is going to be the collector tuned oscillator. So what happens whenever the high tension battery is switched on, the collector circuit oscillates with the frequency and it generates a kind of waveform. That is, it produces a high tension battery separate, produces a magnetic field, and what happens? It produces a sound waves of the frequency. Therefore, the frequency is going to the frequency that is generated here. It is going to be F is equal to 1 by 2 pi square root of L1 into C. So this L1 is nothing but the induction here, and C is the variable capacitor. So the frequency of the ultrasonic sound wave produced here, it is going to be determined by the expression F is equal to 1 by 2 pi into square root of L1 into C. So because of the magnetostrictive effect, the rod starts to vibrate and it produces the ultrasonic sound. So the frequency of vibration of the rod is dependent upon the other parameters also. So this is a simple frequency representation for the collector tuned oscillator circuit. And when we talk about the ultrasonic sound waves, the frequency of vibration of the rod depends upon, that is represented by n, and that depends upon these parameters. That is 1 by 2L into square root of y by rho, where L is the length of the rod and y is the Young's modulus of the rod material, that is whichever material it is made. You have to note down that particular Young's modulus constant, and rho is the density of the rod material. So these parameters determine the frequency of vibration of the ultrasonic sound waves that is produced with the help of this magnetostriction oscillator. I repeat, the frequency of vibration of the rod is given by the expression 1 by 2L into square root of y by rho, where L is the length of the rod and y is the Young's modulus and rho is the density of the rod material. The capacitor C is adjusted so that the frequency of oscillator circuit is equal to the natural frequency of the rod, and thus resonance takes place. Now the rod vibrates longitudinally with the maximum amplitude and generates the ultrasonic waves of high frequency from its ends. Okay. So that is the method of production of ultrasonic sound waves. So what are the advantages of this method of ultrasonic sound waves? The advantages here are going to be the design of the oscillator is very simple. It is a simple experimental setup because we are going to make use of the iron rod, the coils and other things. And it is very simple. And it is production is of the investment cost is very low because of very simple circuits used. And at low frequencies, the large power output can be produced and without the risk of any damage to the oscillator circuit. So it has some disadvantages. That is, it has a lower upper frequency limit and then cannot generate the ultrasonic sound waves beyond the frequency 3000 kilohertz. That is up to 3 megahertz only it is able to produce. So beyond that frequency range, this experimental setup does not produce it. The frequency of oscillation depends upon the temperature also, and there will be losses of energy due to hysteresis and eddy current. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of magnetostriction oscillator. So that is about the second method of production of ultrasonic sound waves. The first method is the mechanical setup, and the second method is the magnetostriction method, and the third one is the piezoelectric generator or oscillator. So it is going to be the inverse piezoelectric effect. So normally we know that what is the piezoelectric effect. So the inverse piezoelectric effect is used for the method of the ultrasonic sound wave production. That is, now let us see what is piezoelectric effect. So if a mechanical pressure is applied to one pair of opposite faces of certain crystals like quartz or any other equivalent one, an opposite electrical charges appear across the faces. That effect is called to be the piezoelectric effect. Normally, there is when mechanical pressure means you are giving up some kind of pressure, okay, to one pair of opposite faces of certain crystals which are made up of quartz or any other piezoelectric material. Equal and opposite electrical charges appear across the faces. That is, One phase it will be having a positive charge, the other phase will be having a negative charge. So equal and opposite electrical charges appear across the phases. That effect is called to be the piezoelectric effect. The opposite of that is whenever there is the contrast of counterpart of this piezoelectric effect is if an electric field is applied to the pair of phases of this crystal, what happens, it produces in the change in the dimension of the crystal. That is called to be the inverse piezoelectric effect or electrostiction method. I repeat, what is meant by piezoelectric effect means that is whenever a mechanical pressure or whenever your mechanical pressure is applied to the opposite sides of certain crystals like quartz, equal and opposite electrical charges appear across its faces. That is called to be piezoelectric effect. Whereas the inverse piezoelectric effect is we are doing the reverse process. First, we are applying the electric field to the one pair of the faces. Corresponding changes that will be changed in the dimensions of the crystal. Pair of faces of the crystal. That will be either increase or decrease in the dimension of the crystals. So that effect is called to be the inverse piezoelectric effect. So for the method of the ultrasonic sound production, we are going to make use of this inverse piezoelectric effect. Okay. So now let us go ahead and find how to find the inverse piezoelectric effect. So this is going to be the crystal. So these are connected to the crystal plates A and B. It is going to form the opposite faces of the piezoelectric crystal, and it is connected to the coil L3. That is going to form the one of the transformers. Okay. So this is coil L3, and this is coil L1 of the transformer T, and this is L1. So this is going to be the same kind of oscillator circuit to a common emitter. And this variable capacitor is connected to across the base and the emitter, and across the collector this coil L2 is connected, and there will be a switch here, and the high tension voltage is applied. So what is that? The inverse piezoelectric effect is nothing but we are going to induce the electric charge across the opposite faces of this pair of pair of faces of this particular faces of this crystal plate. What happens? It increase that gives some kind of pressure to the this crystal, and therefore there will be decrease in the dimension of the crystal. So that produces ultrasonic sound waves. So that vibration, the kind of vibration that is produced here induces some kind of ultrasonic sound wave production. So that is going to be the inverse piezoelectric effect. In order to produce that electric current, we are making use of this high tension battery. So how it is happening? This quartz crystal is placed between the two metal plates, which is going to act as a conductor A and B. So these plates are connected to the primary coil of the transformer, and these two are the secondary. So secondary will be having the coil L1 and L2, and L3 is going to be the primary winding of the transformer. So the electronic oscillator is the base tuned oscillator circuit, same as the case which we have seen in the second method. These coils L1 and L2 of the oscillator circuit are taken from the secondary of the transformer. The collector coil is inductively coupled to the base coil L1. So the coil L1 and the variable capacitor C1 forms the tank circuit of the oscillator. So what happens whenever the high tension battery is turned on, this oscillator produces the high frequency alternating voltage with a frequency F is equal to 1 by 2 pi root of L1 into C1. So L1 is the one which is connected to the oscillator circuit, and C1 is the capacitor which is connected to the base emitter circuit. So due to the transformer action, what is that? An oscillatory electromagnetic force is induced. Electromotive force is induced in the coil L3. So what happens? This high frequency alternating voltages fed across the plates A and B. What happens? Because of this, inverse piezoelectric effect takes place, and the crystal contracts and expands alternatively. So it contracts and expands because of the the voltages being electrically charged by the electric DC supply from the high tension battery, these plates A and B. Okay, so that creates the inverse piezoelectric effect. Because of that, what happens? The crystal placed across the plates, the crystal placed across the plates A and B, it will be expanding and contracting. So this expansion and contraction of the crystal produces the ultrasonic sound waves. So that is the method here. So this crystal is set to mechanical vibrations. So the frequency of vibration is given by N is equal to P by 2L into square root of Y by rho, where P is the fundamental, the first overtune frequency of the oscillator. So it can take any of the values from 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. up to whatever the tone frequency that we are setting in the oscillator. And Y is the Young's modulus of the crystal that we are using, and rho is the density of the crystal. So this variable condenser, that is the capacitor, is adjusted such that the frequency of the AC voltage is equal to the natural frequency of the quartz crystal, and thus the resonance takes place. So the vibrating crystal produces the longitudinal ultrasonic sound waves of larger amplitude. So this method is better than the previous method, magnetostriction method. So this is the second method of production of ultrasonic sound waves. So what are the advantages? These ultrasonic frequencies are as high as 5 into 100 hertz, or it could be 500 megahertz, or it could be that could be attained from this kind of arrangement. So it is better than the second method. So the output of this oscillator is very high, and it is not affected by the temperature or humidity in the surroundings. So coming to these disadvantages, the cost of getting a piezoelectric quartz crystal is very high. So it is quite expensive, and the cutting and shaping of quartz crystal are very, very complex. So it has some kind of applications like what is the diamond cutting, drafting, okay, grafting. Okay, so all those applications that this ultrasonic sound waves produced by these methods are used. So this is the third method of ultrasonic sound wave production. The first one is the mechanical method using the Galton's whistle, and the second method, it is going to be the magnetostriction method of generation of ultrasonic sound waves, and the third method, it is going to be the piezoelectric method of ultrasonic sound wave production. Okay, so now let us move ahead with the further topics. So these are the, so we have learned what is an ultrasonic sound wave and how ultrasonic waves are produced by the three methods. And let's move on to the next topic, the applications where it is used. Okay, so we all know that. So it has, as we discussed already, it has wide range of applications. So bat is the only animal which could generate, produce the ultrasonic sound waves in nature. So the bat, as it does not have an eye, so it travels very faster in the night, even without hitting any of its obstacle that is there in the front. So how does it happening? So this bat has the capability of producing the ultrasonic sound waves based on the echo signal that is received. After that ultrasonic sound waves are hitting the target, it identifies the distance. It calculates, automatically it calculates the wavelength or the frequency with which the wavelength with which the waves are returning. So this first picture shows a stationary object. So it is hitting a tree. Okay, so based on the frequency of the waves that is being reflected, it identifies the distance of the target. So in the second case, you see there is a fly here. So it is flying in the same direction as the bat. So it moves away from the, what is that, from the source. Okay, so what happens whenever the ultrasonic sound waves is hitting, the frequency will be less. Okay, the wavelength will be less here. So what happens? Again, it calculates what is the distance of that particular fly, and it travels. And you see the next one, the third one, it is the fly is flying towards the bat. So it comes closer. Again, the frequency is going to vary. So based on all these calculations, God has given a very good mathematical calculation of how the distance of the target could be identified to the bat, and with the help of that, the bat identifies the distance of the target and it travels very fast even without hitting any of the targets it is coming across. Okay, so the same concept is used here for our applications as well. So this is how it is being used. That is, you see, so this is the, what is that, ultrasonic sound wave generator. So there is the sensor here which produces the ultrasonic sound waves. So this is the sender of the transmitter. So it is sending the waves, the original waves it is sending as a, that is represented in the green color. So whenever any obstacle or target is being identified, the waves will be, sound waves will be reflected. Okay, depends upon the frequency, because some of the waves it penetrates the object also. Some frequency of ultrasonic sound waves it penetrates. Some of frequency of the sound waves it is being absorbed. It is being refracted means it penetrates the objects. But some range of frequencies it gets reflected whenever an obstacle is obtained. It depends upon the object also, whatever it is being used as a target. Okay, so a part of the wave is being reflected back to the transmitter or the sender. So that is represented as a reflected echo wave with the help by means of this pink color arrow mark. Okay, so based on the frequency or the wavelength calculation, you are going to identify the distance of this object from the transmitter. So that is the principle here, same as a bat. Okay, so we have an ultrasonic sound wave generator that will be used as a transmitter. Whenever a target is being identified, based on the reflected wave frequency and wavelength, we are identifying the distance of the target. So this is how it is identified. So normally you might have seen in many of the movies, they would have seen when submarines are there, whenever they get communicated, they send kind of frequency of signals. I think one of the movies you might have seen, Ghazi attack. You remember? Ghazi attack. So that had happened actually. Okay, it's a true story. The movie depicts the true story that happened in Visakhapatnam. Pakistan people attacking. That attack is called to be the Ghazi attack. So in that full, the movie, they will be using that submarines, and they will be generating the ultrasonic sound waves, and they will be identifying the enemies. Okay, the enemy submarines. So the the movie whole concept is based on this kind of ultrasonic sound waves. And also this ultrasonic sound waves, it has lot many applications in navigation purposes, like identifying the rocks below the sea, finding the depth of the sea, and finding the fishes. And nowadays, people are using for identifying the fish for fish catching. Okay, so let us see one by one. So what are the different applications of ultrasonic sound waves? So the first application is non-destructive testing. That is, any kind of flaws that is happening in the metals could be identified without even touching or breaking the metal. That is, suppose we are having, what's the what is that rod, that is steel metals rods are going across the beam of any building or construction, is it not? So when ages go by, what happens, the rusting might happen because of the oxidation happening because of the moisture and humidity content. So that could be identified, or sometimes the because of over rusting the steel might get broken. So that could be identified with the help of this non-destructive testing. How it is happening means, these people tend to generate the ultrasonic sound waves. This ultrasonic sound waves, they will be able to penetrate the walls and hit the steel metal, and if there is any defect, okay, they will be receiving the signals, and they will be identifying what there is any cracks, or if there is any holes, or if there is any defect or any flaws has occurred. So that kind of applications are called to be non-destructive testing. So these are used to detect the presence of flaws, any cracks, blowholes, any porosity of the material that is happening, that is used for the construction of the building. So it could be used. So how they do? Actually, they transmit the ultrasonic beam by measuring the time interval of the reflected beam and the transmitted beam. The flaws in the metals could be detected. So this is how they use it. So how they are doing means, you see, there will be an what is that ultrasonic frequency generated will be there, and there will be a CRO for measuring, and there will be a transducer, and there will be a transmitting transducer and the receiving transducer, and there will be an oscillator. sorry, amplifier. So this is going to be the, what is the ray is going to be the transmitting transducer, and this is going to be the receiving transducer. So this is the wall. Okay, this is the specimen. So whenever they are transmitting this ultrasonic sound waves, so this is the flaw occurred here. There is some gap in the material here. So based on the several times they will send in different positions and different frequencies, they will be transmitting the ultrasonic sound waves. So based on the receiving frequency, the time they will be calculating, and they will be doing some kind of calculation, and then finally they will be identifying what is the structure of the flaw, or what is the structure of the gap that is occurring between the metals. So this is how they do for the detection of flaws in metals. Okay. So that is the method here. So based on the echo waves that is being reflected, they will be identifying. Okay, so this is method where it is used most commonly. It is used for structural buildings and other kind of rubber tires. Also, they make. So if there is any hole or any vacuum created due to the manufacturing defect, so this method is very cheap to identify, and it is very high speed of operation rather than going for radiography kind of methods. Radiography means they send the radio frequency signals and they identify. So beyond that, more than this kind of applications, this ultrasonic sound waves are very good in identifying this kind of what is that flaws in metals. So next application, it is going to be ultrasonic drilling. So some delicate materials like diamond, glass, okay, we cannot drill as easily. So when you get driller machine, it is going to vibrate at a very high speed. Is it not? The pressure or the thrust that is given there will be very high. So whenever this glass and other things are used, what happened? It may break the glass and the diamond. Okay, so in such cases, if at all we wanted to make a hole, they'll be using, what is that? This ultrasonic sounds. So there will be kind of slurry method here. So the coil will be wound here. So it will be made to vibrate, and that produces the ultrasonic sound waves, and automatically a hole will be created here. So it is used for this jewelry purposes, diamond cutting and drilling, and for creating holes, drilling holes in the glass materials. Okay, so these ultrasonic sound waves are used. So next one is ultrasonic welding. So welding, what do? Welding, we join any two metals, is it not? So in some metals, when we normal welding, when we do with the help of heating, by creating a, or is normally how do they do welding means they heat the metal. Well, because of the thermal nature of this heating, what is that? The metals melt and they touch each other and they join. Is it not? So that is a normal welding method. So some metals might change. What is that? Some of the metals on heating they might get destroyed. Okay. So in such cases they do not use this heating method for welding. So in such cases they use this ultrasonic hammers. So this ultrasonic hammer will be there. There will be two portions. These are the portions they wanted to weld. So they will be generating this. This is the hammer part, and they will be generating the ultrasonic sound waves because of the little thermal that is produced by these ultrasonic sound waves. Automatically, these two metals get welded here. Okay. So this is the purpose of this ultrasonic hammer. It is attached to a powerful ultrasonic generator that is used for welding purposes. So next one is ultrasonic soldering. Same as instead of using the electrical method of heating the element and doing soldering, these ultrasonic waves are also, so some metals like aluminum, it cannot be directly soldered because when we heat the aluminum, automatically it will, what is that? It's not as easy to that is why we use what is that? Aluminum vessels, is it not? Aluminum vessels, because we heat, most of us will be using aluminum vessels for cooking. So whenever we heat, it does not melt that easily. So in such cases, what has happened? This soldering it's not possible. So in such cases, they will be using this kind of what is it? Ultrasonic waves for soldering. Next one is for ultrasonic cutting and machine purposes. Then ultrasonic cleaning. So it is the most cheapest technique for cleaning the minute parts like electronic assemblies, PCB boards, armatures, watches, even watches. When we go for cleaning, we cannot pour water and wash. Is it not? We cannot blow and wash because these are very tiny materials, and it could not be used by normal method of putting vacuum or something like that. So in such cases, what we will be doing, they will be making use of this ultrasonic sound waves to clean the what is the delicate things. Okay, so that is how it is being done. So it is used for cleaning purposes. Okay, next one is the most important application, sonar. Sonar is sound navigation and ranging. Is it not? Sound navigation and ranging. So the sonar is a technique which stands for sound navigation and ranging. So it is used for the detection and identification under water subjects. So this method consists of what is that? They will be generating the ultrasonic sound waves and they will be transmitting. Okay, so depending upon the echo signal due to the Doppler effect, it determines the velocity of the body and its direction. That is a reflected wave. So Doppler effect we know, so that we have learned in the fourth unit itself, that is in radar. So whether the target is moving away from the source or whether the target is moving towards the source. So based on that, the velocity of the signal is calculated and the direction of the object is identified. Okay. So this is a simple representation of how the sonar technology is used. See, you see. So this ship, submarines, they will be able to communicate to the people at above the sea with the above the sea surface with the help of these sound waves only, because we cannot communicate with the help of any other Wi-Fi technology or Li-Fi technology or any other means. Only by means of these sound waves they will be able to communicate. Okay, even our GPS will not be working. Okay, so they will be making use of the underwater communication. So these people also keep track of the submarines by means of this. And also this submarines, they will be transmitting the ultrasonic sound waves in all the directions, and they will be identifying there is sound waves in all the directions, and identifying if there are any rocks or if any what is it, fishes or school of fishes are there. So without hitting that, they need to travel. So this is how they use for the used for navigation purposes. Okay. So how they calculate? So by measuring the time interval between the transmitted pulses and the received pulses and the distance between the transmitted and the remote object, they use the help of the formula, that is V is equal to V by V into T by 2. So where V is the velocity of the sound in the seawater and T is the time interval. So based on these parameters, they calculate the distance of the target. So the same principle is used to find the depth of the sea. So some of the applications of sonar are, so that is underwater, any kind of shipwreck has occurred. So the sonar is used for identifying any of the, any damage that has happened or any accident has happened under the sea. And the parts which are being by means of accident or anything happens, it might be dropped under the sea. So that could be identified with the help of this sonar application. That is the sound navigation and ranging. So the submarines on the bottom of the sea, when they travel, they also calculate. Okay. And also the pressure of the sea will be very high when we go below the sea level, that is when we go at a longer depth. So in such cases, only sonar waves are, that is ultrasonic waves are helping to identify the targets and for communication purposes as well. And also it is used for fish finding applications, and also it is used for the seismic survey. So some kind of seismic sensor in materials that could be identified in case of terrestrial applications, but whereas under the sea we will not be able to identify. So such things could also be identified with the help of these ultrasonic waves. Okay, seismic means earthquake prediction, which is happening under the land portion which is below the sea. So that could also be identified with the help of the ultrasonic waves. Okay, so these are the some of the general applications, and the next one, it is going to be the medicine. So as I told you already, it has lot of medical applications, so which we have come across in real life. That is the medical sonography. Normally they tell ultrasonography, USG. So whenever you go for scan report or something, they might have written USG, ultrasonography. Okay, so normally the doctor tells, so if anything, any tendons have broken, or any internal organs has been, there has been a defect, okay, or any tendon pull is there, or any sprain in the leg, or any muscle defect is there, that could be identified with the help of this ultrasonic sound waves. Even for your identifying that the kidney, any fault in the kidneys, they make use of these ultrasonic sound waves. Ultrasound scans. Okay, how do they do? The ultrasounds are being generated with the help of that machine. The ultrasounds penetrate the organs, and some of the waves will be reflected back. So based on the waves that is reflected back, they identify the structure of the organ. So they do it very fast. Is it not? That's why we are not able to identify how they are doing. Okay. So this is for the medical applications, and also we have for therapeutic applications. As I told you, they are used for medical diagnostic purposes as well as for treatment purposes. Therapeutic applications like physiotherapists, they use for any disorders there that could be rectified, or if any tumors are there that could be rectified with the help of ultrasonic sound waves. So that cells could be damaged with the help of the heat that is produced by these ultrasonic sound waves. Okay, so these are some of the therapeutical applications, and systematic. So many applications are there, and also it could be used for measuring the blood flow level. Okay, so there will be some kind of instrument. So that also used for measuring the blood flow level, and also the oxygen content could also be identified with the help of these ultrasonic sound waves. Okay, next one. That is about the applications of ultrasonic sound waves. So today we have learned about the what is meant by ultrasonic sound waves. Ultra means beyond. Sonic means sound. So beyond the audible range, it is going to be ultrasonic sound waves. So it is the three methods of ultrasonic sound production of ultrasonic sound waves we have learned, and what are the different applications of ultrasonic sound waves. So it is a very, very important topic as far as examination is concerned, and that is the topic that we have learned today. Any other doubts you have? Day after tomorrow. Okay.